The Big Heat, directed by icon Fritz Lang, is one of the darkest films noir we have ever covered. Probably the darkest. Does it go too far, or is it one of the best films in the history of the genre? We're going to get into it on the Golden Hour Film Podcast. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Golden Hour Film Podcast. I am Harry Bailey, joined by my co-host, not guest host, Shane Mulvaney. Shane, the fourth episode of Noirvember 2025, how are you doing?
Yeah, it's halfway through, obviously, November on the podcast, and this is, I think, probably fair to say the darkest movie we've covered so far this month. It's some heavy stuff in this movie, so yeah, it's not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, I right at the bat, Fritz Lang. What a guy, what a director, what an icon. Again, someone who we are going to cover so much more on the podcast, I promise you. Again, somehow, the podcast debut of Fritz Lang. We haven't really... We're not really planning on doing a crazy amount of foreign language films, but that being said, I can definitely see us doing a handful of his German films before he went to America, as well as some of his American films as well, of course. But yeah, Fritz Lang is an amazing director. I love his films. Very dark, like particularly dark, both atmospherically, tonally, but also just like lots of shadows. You know, he's German after all.
Yeah.
Bit of German expressionism never did any film noir any wrong. But yeah, this film, you got Lee Marvin and his incredible voice. What an unbelievable voice that man had. And safe to say, once again, because he's very good at it, he obviously very multifaceted actor, but Lee Marvin, fantastic bastard.
Yeah.
And yeah, he is a bastard in this film. But he is opposite Glenn Ford, who we've covered on the podcast already.
Yeah.
Shane, I'm going to ask you for your spoiler-free review, so it's time for the spoiler-free review. But I'm also going to lead into it with a question, which is, how does Glenn Ford's performance in The Big Heat stack up against his previous performance that we just reviewed last week in Gilda?
Interesting, yeah. I'll answer the second question first, which is I think it's definitely a better performance from Glenn Ford. Obviously, first of all, he's actually carrying this film, which he kind of does at times, especially in the first act or so of Gilda. He's kind of asked to carry the film until obviously then Gilda gains some prominence and she becomes the protagonist of the film. But I think we were both kind of agreed that his performance was overshadowed by obviously Rita Hayworth in that film. She's such a star.
Massively.
Yeah. So he's fine, but definitely overshadowed. I think he does a better job of holding his own in this, albeit he's still got Gloria Grahame, who's we've covered before in A Lonely Place, and
Yes.
Lee Marvin, obviously, who's just an amazing actor. So I think those two, to be honest, are still the two performances that I would come away from kind of thinking about when it comes to this film. Like I said, I prefer this performance, but I do think there's also just a couple of moments here and there where you can tell that he's trying to put on this like hard-boiled detective noir kind of like you can tell that he's trying to put on the voice and the mannerisms and the body posture and the body language and stuff. Still a good performance, but yeah, I'm not fully in the bag of Glenn Ford. I have to say he's a good actor, but he's not one of my favorite kind of noir actors. As far as the film goes, I should say, actually, coming on to that, I did definitely like this more on a second viewing. I enjoyed it first time around, but there was something about it that was just, maybe it was Glenn Ford's performance, and it was partly how utterly bleak it is at times. Like, I get that it's noir and you should expect that, and it's one of the reasons I do love the genre, but like there's some heavy stuff, like I said at the start, in this film. And yeah, maybe I just wasn't prepared for how deep and how dark it would go at times. So once I kind of knew and had that prior knowledge, I did kind of appreciate how much it's just ticking off all the noir tropes. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way at all, because I do love a good noir, like I said. So Yeah, I definitely appreciate it and liked it more the second time around. And yeah, Lee Marvin, great actor.
Yeah, I have to say this is without question in my top 10 film noirs. This is one of my films noir. Sorry, please don't shoot me. This is one of my absolute favorites. I love this film. We've very much established on the podcast I'm a horror fan. I don't want to say I get enjoyment, but like I do love the fact that this is the dark noir.
Yeah,
This is the one where everything is awful, and I think that makes it stand out because it's Fritz Lang. Fritz Lang has a way of making really dark movies, but without them feeling like
oppressive.
I don't know, like shock fests.
Yeah.
Like he's not doing it for the sake of shocking you. He's doing it because that person's a terrible, terrible person, and you want the good guy. In this case, Grahame Ford's character or Glenn Ford's character. I don't know who Grahame Ford is, but if he's listening, hello, Grahame. Yeah, shout out Grahame Ford. But Glenn Ford, you just want to see him take him down so bad. Like you just desperately want to see him take him down, and it's a very film noir. Leans into a lot of the tropes, but I just think that it does it in such a Fritz Lang, evil, uncomfortable way that I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And that's all I'm going to give you in my spoiler-free review, because a lot of things that I have to say about this film involve things that happen in the final act. This is a dark movie, and it's got a lot. I would also go into this movie, if you haven't seen it before, I would go into this without looking up the plot, because some streaming services, I know Apple in particular, literally have like 2 or 3 of the twists in the description, which is just stupid. So don't look into this, just go into it head on. And if you like film noir, I think you'll have a good time, but just brace yourself for some pretty dark stuff. But that's enough about our spoiler-free opinions, because Shane, it's time to take a step into the times machine. Shane, our good friend Bosley Crowther, reviewed The Big Heat. Shane is 0 for 3 in trying to get in the mind of Bosley Crowther. So Shane, my question for you for a 4th time on the Times Machine segment of the Golden Era Film Podcast. Did Bosley Crowther like this film?
I think the first 3 films I've said that he's enjoyed, and he turns out he hasn't. So
and he's absolutely shat on them.
So by that logic, by that measure, I'm just going to say he didn't like this film. And look, if I'm wrong, then I'm done at this point. Then I don't care at that point about his opinion.
So, again, like I've done the last few times, I am just going to paraphrase. I'm not going to go into the full review. Dice, Vice, and Corruption. Those are the... I have never seen that word before. Inducements advertised in the marquee of the Criterion Theatre, where The Big Heat opened yesterday. And Dice and Vice and Corruption, especially Corruption, are what you get a full share of this in this Columbia crime melodrama, which has Glenn Ford as its tout, relentless star. Say this for Fritz Lang, who directed, and Sidney Boehm, who wrote the script. They haven't insulted their players by putting them in a game of tiddlywinks. The business that occupies their hero in this tale of criminals and crooked politics is gambling, conspiracy, extortion, murder, and a few other things. The police commissioner is the hireling of a steel-springed racket boss, and there are strata and substrata of underworldlings. Even the widow of a policeman is a bum. In fact, it is an endeavor to fathom the suicide of a seemingly honest policeman that Mr. Ford, as a detective, runs afoul. I'm not going to get into the entire plot. Mr. Ford is in fine style as the hero, as angry and icy as they come, and Miss Grahame is intriguingly casual as the renegade girlfriend of a crook. Mr. Marvin and Alexander Skirby represent the criminal elements graphically. Miss Brando makes a briefly cozy housewife, and Jeanette Nolan plays the widow viciously. But then, this should not be surprising, Mr. Lang can direct a film. He has put his mind to it in this instance, and he has brought forth one with a hot sting.
So he liked it.
So he liked it.
I'm done trying to figure out what Bosley Crowther thinks of anything. Kenny and
Bosley Crowther, of course Bosley Crowther loved this film. What would ever make you think he wouldn't?
Good, I'm actually happy about that, to be honest, because I think he's unfairly maligned. Certainly The Big Sleep and Gilda as well, to a lesser extent.
Yeah, so Bosley Crowther, for those of you who don't know, was a very big film journalist in the 50s and 60s, but also the 40s, before and after. But yeah, he was famous for dunking on big successes, for example, The Big Sleep. But yeah, funny to see that finally we have covered a film that Bosley Crowther did enjoy. I would be so interested to see that man's letterboxd graph. But yeah, Bosley Crowther has finally liked a movie. This is going to be a very short letterbox list on this podcast of films that Bosley Crowther liked that we have covered on the podcast. But yes, that is it for the Times Machine this week. And now it is time for the main event. We are going to discuss The Big Heat in all its spoilerific glory. So Shane, tell me, The Big Heat, directed by Fritz Lang, starring Glenn Ford, etc., etc. What's it all about?
Yeah, so The Big Heat follows this guy, Dave Banyan, who's a detective with the police, and his colleague, a guy called Tom Duncan, at the very start of the film, shoots himself, seemingly for no reason, or certainly we don't know the reason, obviously, and his wife comes downstairs, obviously shocked and appalled and distraught. So he shoots himself at his desk, but he's written a letter, which we don't see the contents of, but obviously she knows that this letter exists. And yeah, that letter is obviously going to play a very important part in the events of this film. But yeah, straight away, she calls this guy Lagana, and Lagana then calls this guy called Vince, played by Lee Marvin, for help right away, because it seems that maybe this detective has some kind of links to like organised crime or some sort of corrupt kind of malign influences. Should also be said that this guy Vince, his mistress or his girlfriend or mistress, is played by a woman called Debbie, or is called Debbie, who's played by Gloria Grahame. So yeah, Banyan goes and he's trying to investigate this suicide, and pretty much straight away he's like, right, yeah, it is an open and cut suicide. Like, it's not a case of it was staged. It's not a case of he was murdered.
Yeah, it's clear that he definitely did commit it.
Yeah, we've seen that. We obviously see that at the very start of the film. So even for us, it's not in any doubt. But it's also, even for Banyan straight away is like, right, yeah, this is open and shut case of suicide. He's like, right, I don't know why he would do this. He was a wholesome family man. There was no sign that he was kind of into any shady business. So again, the whole reason as to why he would do this is, yeah, it's very, very up in the air and very kind of confusing for everyone involved. But then he gets a call from a woman called Lucy Chapman, who says that it actually wasn't suicide. So he goes to a bar. She says that she was Mr. Duncan's mistress, and she says that he was going to get a divorce and that they were going to kind of be together officially. But then we can see these two shady looking guys. One's a barman, and another kind of henchman looking guy. They're just kind of staring these two out of it while they're having the conversation. So clearly there's some forces maybe to do with this Lagana guy who are kind of keeping tabs on Banyan, and of this Lucy Chapman who they obviously don't want certain things to come out in the wash as it pertains to obviously this suicide. So she's convinced he didn't kill himself. She's swearing up and down to Banyan. And then he goes to visit Mrs. Duncan, the widow of Mr. Duncan. She admits that, yeah, listen, he had like 4 affairs. She wasn't the only one. He had like at least 4 affairs that she knows of throughout their marriage. So it's like, maybe he wasn't the wholesome family man that he had painted himself as.
Yeah, she initially kind of said that he was squeaky clean and that he had a pain in his side that may have driven him to doing it. But this second time round, because Banyan, after interviewing Lucy, kind of thinks, oh, you're one, Lucy, just trying to get something out of this man's death, like this poor woman. But, you know, I am a detective, I better ask her anyway. So he asks her, and then she is a bit more suspicious. She's a bit more icy. She's definitely colder towards Banyan second time round. He mentions Lucy to her, as you said, And wouldn't you believe it, the next day, Banyan is in the morgue. He is identifying a body. Lucy Chapman has been found. Again, very Fritz Lang. Like, she was tortured. He said it was a prohibition style killing, so you can imagine exactly what that was like. But yeah, straight off the bat, there is no punches pulled in this movie. If something's gonna happen to a character, it's gonna be pretty bad. Whoever did this to Lucy Chapman, you wouldn't want them, rocking up to your doorstep. But that kind of lights a fire then in Banyan for the rest of the film, because obviously he thinks it's far too much of a coincidence that after seeing Mrs. Duncan, that this Chapman girl's dead the next day. So he pretty much makes it his mission to look into it further. And yet, the Lieutenant Wilkes gives him a grilling for going back to Duncan's widow the second time round, because, well, but yeah, there's a whole string of corruption in this film. Bit of a bang of The Departed off it, because you don't really know who's on what side when you're looking at the police. You just don't know who's really a policeman and who is someone on Lagana's payroll. Also, we're shouting out Alexander Scarby for playing Lagana. I think he's a pretty good villain, pretty good detestable villain. He's kind of the main villain. I do think that Lee Marvin totally outshines him.
Yeah, he overshadows him for sure.
Yeah, I think he definitely does. But it's also still worth pointing him out. He's a bit obviously long before it happened, but he's kind of a Tony Soprano, Colin Farrell's the Penguin type character.
Yeah, he's more of a tactician, if you want to call it that. He's more like strategic, I should say, maybe is a better word for how he goes about his business. And then Vince is very much like the hothead who is going to get shit done, and who's going to, like, if someone needs to be killed, he's going to kill them. Someone needs to be roughed up, he's going to rough them up. And yeah, he basically does all of his
no shit from anyone either.
Yeah.
Even Lagana, he doesn't take any shit from.
Yeah.
Yeah, Banyan then goes to where Lucy Chapman worked, back in that bar, because that was her job. Her role was to, pick up men. Her role was to pick up men. That's how she made her income, but she did it particularly in that bar. So he goes to that bar and asks the barman, who, was kind of eyeing him up the last time he was there. Barman gives him absolutely nothing. And when he leaves, the barman then goes into the phone booth and calls who we can only assume is Lagana, to tell him that Banyan won't drop this case. And when he comes out, Banyan is straight there and threatens to take him to jail if he doesn't tell him who he just called. And he said his mother. And Banyan basically just, you can kind of see a little bit through Glenn Forrest's performance. I like it, but yeah, he's like, "Oh, tell that to your mother," and he kind of says it in like a, this is maybe giving Glenn Ford too much credit, but I almost like that about his performance, because when you see him at home, he's like the perfect suburban dad.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell that although he's a detective, this particularly dark case is a bit much for him. Like, it's really messing with his head. You can tell he's generally just like an ordinary guy, with like a lovely wife and a lovely daughter, but yeah, he's kind of putting on a bit of a show, shall we say. He goes home to his, perfect wife and perfect daughter, and someone rings him and threatens him on the phone. And at this point, he's also got it convinced in his head that all these phone calls are either people ringing or people being told to ring him by Lagana. So he goes to Lagana's house, and yeah, he drops the murder case on him. Lagana says, "How dare you come to my house and come to me with a murder case?" He calls in his heavy, George, and yeah, Banyan puts George on his ass and says, "Better not, George," which is a pretty good one-liner. And then he heads out. But now that Lagana and Banyan have had their face-to-face, and we've kind of seen his perfect suburban life versus the kind of desolate, decrepit city that he's kind of trying to navigate to get to this case, you can just feel there's a lot of tension in this film. I feel like a lot of tension gets alleviated when he's at home, but yeah, things aren't going to be like that for long.
No, I was going to say, you mentioned the obviously domestic situation that Banyan has, so I do kind of feel it's like emotionally manipulating it at times, where it's like, like you said, it's almost too perfect. Like the wife is almost too perfect and too kind of in love with him, and then the daughter's almost too perfect, and the music swells, and it's almost like cloying, and it's a bit too desperate to kind of set things up. Now it is effective because when it gets the payoff, then yeah, shit goes down.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah, so like you said, he goes back home, and again he snaps a little bit at his wife, but then he apologizes, and they have some weird banter or whatever. It's fine, but yeah, so he's playing happy family, and she gets the car keys from him because she wants to go to the grocery store, and obviously we're stuck in the house with Banyan. We're in the house with Banyan and his daughter, and we can hear the car then. And so as soon as he turns on the ignition, the car goes
boom,
massive explosion. The car goes up in flames, and obviously, she dies. She doesn't survive, obviously. So yeah, that's quite the mid-film twist, and quite the situation, obviously, to put your lead character in.
Yeah, that is the twist that I said. That's in the description of the plot.
Crazy.
On Apple TV. That is so stupid. The plot of the film on Apple TV is something like, after his wife is blown up in an accident. And it's like, what? That happens halfway into the movie.
Exactly. It's like the whole...
That's not what kickstarted this movie. That is a twist in this movie. No. But yeah, terrible work from whoever wrote that synopsis. You should be ashamed of yourself. But yeah, after the funeral of his wife, the commissioner tells Banyan that it was an old crook trying to get revenge, and then Banyan kind of like sticks the knife in him too. He's kind of like, oh, you're trying to get me off the scent of this as well, which results in them having a big confrontation, and Banyan being told he's suspended, but Banyan saying, nah, do you know what, take my badge, don't want it anymore, if this is the kind of place that I'm working in. But he refuses to give his gun back because he paid for it himself. So you know what, good for you, keep that.
Yeah, 100%. So they offer to obviously put like police protection on the in-laws' house at least. So his brother-in-law and his sister-in-law, that's where his daughter is going to stay, because obviously you can't say for sure who's going to come by the house and going to try and finish the job, as it were. So she's staying with the brother-in-law and the sister-in-law. The aunt and the uncle, for want of a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
brother-in-law and sister.
His brother-in-law and sister-in-law, whatever it is, yeah. So, whatever the case is. Anyway, yeah. Basically, there's a police protection on their house. So at least that's one less thing he has to worry about for this time. So yeah, he goes, and Debbie starts to dance with Vince. We cut to Vince, who's at the kind of gambling parlor, the casino or whatever it is that he is obviously there with. Yeah, we see a guy called Larry, who was also the henchman that we saw kind of stake out the woman who was killed and banging that time. So he gets his ass handed to him by Lagana, because he's like, listen, you're after screwing up this woman's murder. Yeah. Like, it should have been the cop who was killed. You screwed up this. You made basically the Chapman murder way too loud. Like, it should have been basically like a body, essentially, is what you're saying, a body that couldn't have been discovered. Instead, you made it as public as it could possibly be. You have to put us in all this mess. He obviously sticks up for himself a little bit, but yeah, it's clear that kind of the wheel is starting to kind of fall off the Lagana kind of train, because he knows that Banyan is like a dog with a bone. He's not going to stop until he's either stopped or until he gets what he wants. So he goes to Banyan, then goes to this kind of car dealership, or this auto place that's obviously car repair shop, to find a guy called Slim, but it turns out that Slim is dead, and he kind of chasing down this false avenue, or this dead end, as it were. But this guy who works there, who is clearly, he knows more than he's letting on, but again, he isn't necessarily involved, but like, he does know more than he's letting on, but he isn't willing to tell Banyan, because like, look, if I tell you, then I'm the one going to be have the same thing happen to me.
Yeah, he
as
literally
your
says to
wife.
him, like, I'm in your shoes, man. I have a wife and kids too.
Yeah, so it's like, look, if I actually open my mouth and tell you what you want to know, then look, you already saw what happened to your wife. The same thing could happen to me. Luckily, there is an older woman there who does kind of on the secret, on the sly, offer to help. And he's like, well, listen, she has his kind of description and she would know him kind of to pick out in a lineup if she saw him. So he's like, right, have that in the back of my
She
head.
calls him a very colourful man, which is fun.
Yeah. So,
What a fun description of someone. Just a very colourful man.
and then he goes to this place called The Retreat, which is the place owned by Lagana. And obviously Vince is there. And Vince starts to act really abusive to, well, his girlfriend Debbie and to other people in the place.
Yeah, to another woman in particular in front of Debbie.
Yeah, and he's very much demeaning this woman, and he is physically and emotionally kind of threatening. And once Banyan sees all this go down, he kind of sticks up for her, I should say. And yeah, kind of Vince does start to cower. It's interesting from Lee Marvin because he's obviously a big guy. He's obviously a big guy, so tall guy. I mean, so he obviously he could handle himself, and we saw that like in some of his later movies. But yeah, he does kind of play a bit more of a, maybe not timid, but he definitely plays someone who isn't as physically imposing. Even though we can see that he is, he's plays someone who isn't as physically.
I think
imposing.
because Lagana has specifically told him to lay off Banyan, he's so desperate to not get into an altercation with him.
Yeah. True.
Because he said earlier in the film, "Oh, boss, why don't we just kill Banyan?" And Lagana's like, "Absolutely not. Like, we have enough heat on us as is."
Yeah.
So I think he's just desperately trying to avoid confrontation with Banyan. So he literally just tries to throw money at the situation, to which Banyan just like knocks Vince's goon to the floor, and they just scurry off. But Vince's girlfriend, we'll call her Debbie, played by Gloria Grahame, the fantastic Gloria Grahame, tries to buy him a drink. Banyan rejects and heads out. Gloria follows him. And things get even darker. Because, Vince spots Gloria leaving with Banyan.
Larry, actually.
Sorry, yeah. Larry, the colourful man,
Yeah.
spots Banyan and Debbie leaving together. Nothing untoward happens there, but Debbie does kind of confide in him for sticking up for people. Kind of just tells him he's a good person. And still does send her on her way, though, because he can't obviously get out of his head that, you know, she is very much associated with the people who killed his wife. And he gets very snappy when she asks him about her. So he sends her on her way. So when she goes back then to Vince's apartment, the colourful man has told Vince about that very interaction. So he asks her what was said. She denies that it ever happened. So then he grabs her arm and tries to break it, and that doesn't work. Now, what's even more despicable about this is after the fact, he tells Lagana that he knows that she wasn't lying because she would have told him when he tried to break her arm.
Yeah.
But regardless, to make a point out of her, he grabs a piping hot coffee jug, the most famous scene in the movie, grabs a piping hot coffee jug and throws it in her face and scalds her face. Unbelievably dark, unbelievably graphic. Fritz Lang, you sick fuck. But really, 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 if you didn't already, you really want to see Vince Stone get put on his fucking ass now. And as well, it's worth noting that the commissioner, the police commissioner, is in the room at the time, and he's a total wimp. He's an absolute coward. He's panicking. He doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, he's clearly in the pocket of Lagana.
Yeah. So then Stone tells him that he has to be the one to take her to the hospital because he's a policeman. Obviously, if it's a gangster that found her, that's not good on them. But if the police commissioner found her out in the street having an incident like this, no one's going to bat an eyelid. So he goes to take her, but she obviously then escapes him because she heads straight... Well, sorry, she goes to the hospital. But then she obviously escapes him in the hospital because she manages to get back to the hotel room that Banyan is staying in, and she has like a not like a Phantom of the Opera mask, but it's that sort of visual. Like her face
Bandaged,
is very much half her face prior to the accident, and then half just a white bandage.
Think of Two-Face from The Dark Knight, but with bandage instead of basically that.
Yes.
But yeah, so she actually gives up Larry's name. Larry Gordon is his full name. She tells him where Larry lives, and obviously she's like, yeah, fuck these guys. So, so Banyan goes to the apartment, and he actually brings the lady.
Love this scene.
Yeah, it's classic.
Fucking love this scene. It's so great.
So he brings the lady from the car dealership with him, and so she knocks on the door, and Larry opens the door, and she asks him some mundane question just to make a positive ID. So Larry closes the door, and then she goes, "Yeah, that's him." So Banyan knocks on the door again, and
I love her acting in this. Yeah. She's so like how a granny would be, who like gets to be involved in a case. She's real like.
Yeah.
She's kind of over the top, but like perfectly over the top, because a granny in that situation would be real over the top.
That's true.
So you know what? I'm nominating her for best random side character of the year, specifically for her name's Selma. The character is called Selma.
Right.
Shout out Selma Parker. Absolute goat. This whole film wouldn't be possible without Selma Parker, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I very much co-sign that. Yeah, very much a great random side character performance. But yeah, so he
just a lovely lady.
So Banyan just doorsteps him and beats the shit out of him, and obviously gets whatever information he can out of him. And then he says, "I'm going to actually spread the word. I'm not even going to kill you." He said, "I'm going to spread the word that you're ratted, because then you're going to have to skip town, and you're going to
love that.
You're not going to get any work in this town again." So yeah, Larry obviously tries to go on the hop, but they find him. Lagana's people, and yeah, it turns out that Larry has been found dead as well.
Yeah, Stone shot him to shit.
Yeah.
It's like next scene, Stone's like, yeah, he just kept running, so I just had to slug him a few times, but he's dead. It's just so nonchalant from Lee Marvin.
Yeah. So yeah, Banyan goes to visit Mrs. Duncan, and then this is kind of where it all starts to unravel as well, because he figures out that
he names the movie.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, this is the scene where he says the big heat. So this is.
Yeah.
He doesn't care if she's dead. He says he doesn't care if she's dead if that means that the big heat comes for Lagana and Vince, meaning obviously just everything will start to come crumbling down upon them, and their house of
if
cards.
she dies, obviously people are going to look through her apartment and they're going to find the suicide note that would have said, everything that did happen.
Yeah. So he finally figures out that, he obviously has suspicions, but he finally figured out that Mrs. Duncan was like very much a major player in this whole deal, and that she had basically been kind of using her leverage on Lagana and on Vince, because they had to just basically keep paying her throughout this whole process, because otherwise then she would blab her mouth.
But he says to you, with you dead, the big heat falls. Name of the movie. Police kick him out of the house, and he returns to Debbie, who tells him that he's different from the gangsters who he's catching, because he's Batman. Because he doesn't kill, and they do kill. Few Batman connotations in this. But she says he's different from the gangsters, because although he's going around roughing them up and everything, he's not crossing that line. He's not killing them. So what does she do? She goes straight to Mrs. Duncan's house and she just shoots her dead. Yeah. Again, great, because like she's very much admitting, kind of through her actions, that she, in her mind anyway, she's done enough being an accomplice, that she is effectively a gangster. So she's happy to be the one to take the fall by killing Mrs. Duncan. Now, you would think that if she was I don't know, I wouldn't call her a coward anyway, but like if she was maybe somewhat cowardly, maybe she'd then try and like go into hiding or whatever, which is the smart thing to do. But no, she knows that after killing Mrs. Duncan that the big heat's also on her, but from the bad guys. So what does she do? She just heads straight to Vince's apartment. Pretty baller of her, in my opinion. Because Banyan, who has checked up, again, just a funny thing that happen in this film. Banyan goes back to check that his daughter is okay. Again, nice bit of realism. He's just like, oh shit, I haven't checked on her in a while. So he goes and checks, and yeah, people like get him at gunpoint and everything when he's there, which is like proof that the people who are there are good at their job. Again, love that. Love competency in movies. But
and it turns out that they are
it's a
actually
bunch of
hired
olds.
by the brother-in-law, and they're basically mates of the brother-in-law, who aren't even like cops or anything. They're just good Samaritans, really.
I think they're like ex-army or something. I think they're all in like an old battalion together.
Right.
Because my first thought was these guys who we see in one scene have the same amount of character development as all of the characters in Ocean's 11.
It's
Like,
very
that is
true.
so
That
funny
actually
to
is
me.
so true, yeah.
They have one scene in this movie, and they have the exact same character arc as the
Like 8
entire
characters, yeah,
cast of
basically,
Ocean's
yeah.
11 in a 2-hour movie.
That's so classic.
That was my first thought. Was this scene is Ocean's 11's characters, and that's it. We never see them again because that's all they are. They are one scene characters. But yeah, now that he knows that his daughter's okay, he takes his gun that he didn't hand in and he heads straight to Vince Stone's house, well, apartment. And again, love how gothic this movie is. When I say gothic, again, throwing another Batman thing in there. I'll try and shoehorn my Killer Moth joke in there later. But like the city skyline, particularly from Vince's apartment, does look quite Gotham-y.
Yeah.
I really want to see Dr. Mabuse the Gambler and the
really
Testament of Dr. Mabuse. But everyone seems to come out of those films from Fritz Lang saying that there's huge inspiration for the city of Gotham from those movies. In the same way that Metropolis, inspired
Superman.
Metropolis, Superman. But that's an amazing film if anyone hasn't seen it. But yeah, very much Gotham vibes, which I love from a film noir when you're on the balcony of Vince's apartment. Anyway, we're in Vince's apartment, and Debbie, she doesn't give a fuck. She throws coffee in his face, so she gets her own back on him. She calls him every name under the sun, but then he shoots her in the back. Shoots her in the back like a coward. Doesn't kill her instantly because after he does it, Banyan busts in and opens fire on him. So Vince has to run and take cover out on his balcony. Banyan runs out after him, batters him, straight up batters him, but then arrests him instead of killing him because he's Batman. This whole movie is ultimately Batman. Maybe that's why I love it so much. But yes, Banyan, not Batman, arrests Vince Stone, the bastard. The two cops who it's kind of implied throughout the film. We don't see them much, but when we do see them, it's kind of implied that they are like the two
decent cops,
non-dirty cops. They're the two who are there to arrest Stone, as we get a somewhat nice but very much tragic ending where Debbie dies, but she dies asking him the same question she asked him when they first met, which is about his wife, and he talks about how perfect his wife was or whatever. But it's a nice full circle moment because the first time she asked it, he blew her off because all he saw her as was a gangster. Yeah, she dies, and Banyan. It's an interesting ending. I like it. I can see why people don't like it, but this movie just randomly kind of ends with Banyan's back as he's now a homicide detective. Yeah. If he wasn't already a homicide detective, I don't know what kind of detective he was at the beginning.
He must have been.
He's now definitely homicide. Yeah, he must be a homicide anyway. But he's very much homicide now, and he's just in the office and heads out on a day's work. Life is somewhat back to normal for him. The end. It's not like that is about as happy an ending as this film can have. Is that life is back to normal for him with regards to his work life, unless you want like a big soppy he hugs his daughter, but like that's not fitting for this film. So I think him just having a normal day's work again is kind of the perfect happy ending, like the perfect level of happy ending for this film, which is why I think it does work. Shane, I feel like I've done a lot of talking there. That's just because I fucking love this movie. But what are your thoughts with all the spoilers you want on Fritz Lang's The Big Heat?
Yeah, like I said, very much a dark as hell noir. And like it's a genre known for its darkness and its moral depravity at times, and it's certainly its moral kind of quandaries, and it's yeah, it's very much known for all that stuff. Like there's no such thing really as a hero in a film noir. It's very much like anti-heroes or flawed characters and stuff like that. So, but like this film takes it to, I guess, in a way, I say that in a way, Banyan is probably the closest you would actually have to a regular kind of hero in a film noir. But obviously, then
He is Batman.
yeah, but then you just juxtapose that with some of the biggest, like you said, bastards in the genre, like
Yeah.
Vince. Like Anne is no, like Anna doesn't have any kind of moral kind of decency to him at all. He's no redeeming qualities. But yeah, Vince is just an absolute bastard. What he does to Debbie,
Even
what he,
as Bosley Crowther said, even a cop's widow is a bum.
yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah,
there's
100%.
there's so many bastards in this film.
And I think it's interesting as well that obviously we see the idyllic home life of Banyan and his family at the start. And then
Yeah.
by contrast, we have Mr. and Mrs. Duncan, who would appear to be childless, I think. There's no reference to them having a child. And they are the villains. It's pretty interesting that, like, we're in the 50s, obviously, and, like,
Yeah.
yeah, you still can't maybe escape those domestic trappings of, right? So if you don't have kids, there must be something wrong with you. You know what I mean?
She has her own surname. What is that about?
That's what exactly. So, but yeah, like I don't even know why I brought that up, but it was something I found interesting during the film. But yeah, like coming back to the actual film, it's really gripping, really, really dark, really, really just like a heart of darkness running all through the film. I like Glenn Ford's performance, but like I said, I think he's very much overshadowed by Lee Marvin and by Gloria Grahame, who are both fantastic and yeah, very much steal the film for me. But yeah, really enjoyed it. Gave it 3.5 stars. Will watch again, and hopefully it's already gone up my rating from the last time I saw it. So hopefully we'll go up again as with future watches. And yeah, really enjoy it.
Yeah, the first time I watched this, I gave it 4.5 stars. The first time I watched this, I thought, wow, this Fritz Lang guy's kind of fucked up. Love it. Because it's just interesting to see a director who has so many films in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, who just pushes the envelope with, like, how dark can you make your movie with there's still a artistic element to the film without it just being a shock fest. And every time Fritz Lang seems to do the job, even in like some of the not lesser films, but like Fritz Lang, even some of his films that I wasn't like absolutely obsessed with. Like I'm not a die-hard fan of Ministry of Fear, and I'm not a die-hard fan of the one with Marilyn Monroe, which I just watched not that long ago. Clash by Night. Like I think they're both very good films, but they wouldn't be like my favorite films of those decades or anything. But in those films as well, he always manages to get that level of darkness in there. He just manages to unsettle you. And I don't know, is it just casting as well? But like, there's always killer performances in his films. His films are always so well lit. I love Metropolis and M. They're both incredible films from his silent era. Fritz Lang is an all-time director for me. We will be covering plenty more Fritz Lang on the podcast without question. But yeah, I have to say this is one of my favorite Fritz Lang movies ever. I'd put it probably top 2 as it stands. That and Metropolis. But yeah, Lee Marvin, unbelievable bastard in this film. So great in that role. I really like Glenn Ford in this film. It's probably my favorite from Glenn Ford. I haven't seen a lot of Glenn Ford performances, but this one I like. Gloria Grahame, amazing. Same as in A Lonely Place. She was amazing in that. She's amazing in this. Such a likable character. But like likable yet also very sympathetic and kind of bit of darkness to the character as well. She meshes all of that very well in her performance. And obviously Selma Parker, good for her. Being a good person in this film is hard to come by. Finding a good person in this film, but Selma Parker seems like a lovely lady. Yeah, 4.5 stars once again. Absolutely amazing movie. One of my favorite film noirs ever made. and couldn't recommend it enough. And I reckon if you have time, Shane, if we do a quick speed round of the Guess the Movie.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, perfect. So, for those of you who don't know, last Friday we started a new segment on the podcast. Guess the Movie. Here's the title. And we're back. And basically, we're going to take it in turns 3 times each. We're going to show a film to the camera. You can play along if you want, or you can just watch us struggle. We get 7 questions each to try and figure out what the film is. So, Shane, I have one here for you if you want to look away from the screen.
Yep.
And I will try and make sure that this L camera focuses. We are nice and focused. Shane, have at it. You've 7 questions to figure out what film I've just shown to the camera.
Have we covered this film before on the podcast?
We have.
Okay. Is this film pre 1955?
This film is pre 1955.
Have we covered it on the podcast this year?
Ooh. We have not covered it this year on the podcast.
Last year. Was this a film from last year's November?
This was not a film from last year's November.
Is this an English language film?
It is. You've 2 questions left.
Is this a Hitchcock film?
Oh, it is. You have 1 question, so you have 1 punt on a Hitchcock film that we've covered pre-55.
So I can just guess now, is it? No.
Yeah.
Guess. Well,
so you have a 1 in 12 shot, I think.
I'll say Notorious.
It was Shadow of a Doubt.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you'd go more than the film Noir question.
Yeah.
I thought I'd guess you out with that, but yeah, fair enough. So, for all of those at home who are taking score, the all-time score, I do believe, is 2-1 to Shane.
Yeah. Now it's 2-0. Oh, sorry, no, now it's 2-1. What was it? Yeah.
Yeah, still 2-1. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Right.
Look away, Harry.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Obvious question first. Is this a film we've covered on the podcast?
Yes.
New question. Is this a film directed by a director who we have covered more than once on the podcast?
Yes.
Okay. So realistically, it's probably Hitchcock, but there's actually a few directors who we've covered more than once. Is this a film we covered last year?
No.
Okay, that eliminates James Whale, I think. I think we covered all of James Whale's films last year. Billy Wilder, we covered The Apartment last year and Stalag 17 last year. This year we definitely did a Billy Wilder film this year. We had Dublin Downey last year as well. What is the other Billy Wilder film we did this year? Does this film have Sean Connery in it?
No. That's 4.
Okay, that eliminates August. Is this movie a comedy?
No. That's 5.
Right, that eliminates Dr. Strangelove. So, January. Nicholas fucking Ray. Oh. So, with Nicholas Ray, who we covered twice this year. And you did In a Lonely Place last week, so I can't imagine it's In a Lonely Place. So I'll put that on that shelf. David Lean, I think we only did once. I think we've only done one William Wyler film. Howard Hawks' Ball of Fire. Elliot Kazan, we've covered twice, I think. Okay, so I'm torn between Rebel Without a Cause, Paths of Glory, and On the Waterfront. Did this film come out in the 50s?
No.
Is it Paths of Glory?
No. It is.
Fuck!
Done you slightly dirty here, I'm not going to lie. It's The Big Sleep. You see that there?
Oh, no!
I know. Literally 3 days ago.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Right. All-time score remains at 2-1. Right, next round.
But there's one more I have to run very quickly. So
Yeah, sure, no worries. Cheers. Right. I have the film here. That is the film. Shane, you can look.
Okay.
Have a guess. We're going to make this week 2 rounds, by the way, not 3.
I have a feeling this is not going to be something we've covered before. But I have to ask the question anyway. So, have we covered this film on the podcast before?
You are very fortunate to ask that question. Yes, we did.
Oh, okay. Good. Have we covered it in 2025?
We have.
Okay. I like your question from a few minutes ago. So, have we covered this director more than once on the podcast?
We have.
Right, okay. Is this film from the 1950s?
1950s, it is not.
Right, okay. Maybe it's a Bond? Or it could be Howard Hawks' Ball of Fire.
Oh, yeah, I feel like I've just, like, listed off all the
I
options.
know, yeah. You're literally just like...
Fuck.
Right.
No.
Could be Ball of Fire. It's not Robin Holiday because you've only done William Wyler once. I'm going to ask... If it's not the 1950s, is this film a 19... Is this film pre-1950s?
It is not.
Right, okay, so it's 60s onwards then.
Yeah,
Not-
so you have 2 guesses.
That makes me think it's potentially a James Bond movie. Oh shit, it could be The Boards, you know. It could be The Boards. Just after remembering The Boards. Is this a horror movie?
It is not. You have one guess.
Right, so it's not The Boards. I'm going to have to just go stab in the dark for one of the Bonds, and if it's not a Bond, then I'm not going to get it. I'm going to go with Dr. No.
Ooh. This film, would you believe, directed by Terence Young, starring Sean Connery, was Thunderball.
Oh, close, man. Oh. Hit the post. All right, we'll go
Hit
last
the
one.
post.
Right, so still 2-1 to me.
Yeah.
Right. Last one. I will go. Okay, right. Ready to go.
Yeah.
Ready to go? Okay. Here's the movie. Hopefully that comes across. Okay, go ahead.
Did this film come out before the 1950s?
Yes.
Did this film come out before 1935?
No.
Okay. Is this a film directed by a director who we have covered on the podcast?
By any director we covered in the podcast?
Yeah.
Yep.
Is this a film noir?
No.
Is it a comedy?
No.
Oh, not a film noir and not a comedy.
That's 5. 2 more guesses.
Is Humphrey Bogart in this film?
No.
Ah, that was a long shot. So I have to guess.
I'll let you ask one more question out of the goodness of my heart.
Okay. Did this come out? Joe, I'll just ask the bait question. I tried not to, but is this a film we've covered on the podcast?
Yes.
Okay. So it's probably, by law of averages, a Hitchcock film. But for some reason, Gone with the Wind is pulling at me. And you know what? I think it's too bait for you to go for a Hitchcock film. I'm going to say Gone with the Wind.
Should have listened to your initial instinct because it is a Hitchcock film.
Ah, okay.
It is. Can you see that? Lifeboat.
Oh, okay. If it was Hitchcock, I would have guessed Rope anyway.
Yeah.
So
That's actually, I was literally going to go Roping as a guy. That's probably too obvious.
yeah. Well, it remains 2-1 this week, and the hotly anticipated segment of the podcast, Guess That Movie. Thank you very much. Next Tuesday, we will see you all next Tuesday for another film noir. Go to our big board on our Instagram to try and figure out which one it is. In the meantime, I've been Harry Bailey.
I've been Shane Funny.
And that was the episode of the Golden Hour Film Podcast where we covered The Big Heat. Goodbye.